Hello and welcome to Copilot Connection.
We're here to share with you all the news, insights and capabilities of the Microsoft Copilot ecosystem from across the entire Microsoft stack. I'm Zoe Wilson and I'm an executive at Avanade, an MVP and a regional director.
I'm Kevin McDonnell. I'm a solutions architect at Avanade and also an MVP and a member of the Viva Explorers. And we're here, we'll be releasing episodes on roughly an every 2-week basis, depending on how busy we get and fitting things in, which is why we're a little delayed from the last one. And we'll be bringing insights from experts across the community, from Microsoft, and we'll be talking about all the different areas of Copilot, the impact they can make to you and to your organization, what you need to do to prepare for them, and what you can do to start implementing them now. And we'll even cover how you can extend them as well. And talking of those experts in the community, we have a fabulous one today. And with us is Tricia Sinclair. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Why, sure, Kevin. I sure would. Hi, everyone. So I'm Tricia Sinclair, and I am the D365 Customer Service Offering Lead and Digital Contact Center Platform Offering Lead at Avanade. And I'm also a Microsoft MVP, and I'm the founder of the Power Platform School.
And we love the Power Platform, the award-winning founder of the Power Platform School, I think it's fair to say.
Why, thank you. Yes, I won this award. I still love it so much. Thank you. Thank you for everyone who voted, by the way. Thank you for everyone who voted. Thank you.
Like I say, for those who don't know, the South Coast Summit ran the Microsoft Community Awards, and Tricia was a very deserved winner.
Yeah, I think it's testament to the great work that you've been doing since was it the start of the pandemic when you set up the Power Platform School?
Yeah. To be honest, that pandemic really started a lot of things, didn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
It finished off quite a few things as well, but no, it's good to see good to take the good things that have come out of it. Now, if anyone's getting a sense of deja vu, I know there's three of us are, because I'm going to have that public apology that we had a lovely recording on Monday, except someone forgot to hit record on the StreamYard button. So I'm going to publicly apologize to the two of you for the wasted time. But the good news is, let's think of it like a dress rehearsal, and we'll be even better this time.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really glad to see the little recording logo in the top of the screen though, Kevin.
Yes.
I'm just chuckling because Kevin actually forgot to record it again, and Zoe had to remind him. So, we could have had round 3.
No. That pre-bit was just a test. But
okay.
Anyway.
Just to check if we're watching.
But the good news, and almost like we intended it, is when we did the fake recording before, the dress rehearsal, let's call it, now we can talk about the actual GA of Copilot. Zoe, do you want to cover a bit of this, as it is one of your favorite things? So it's I've done it again, of Microsoft 365 Copilot.
Yeah, so this has been a big week, hasn't it? Because Wednesday was the official launch of Microsoft 365 Copilot general availability. Now, what we've seen from Microsoft is quite interesting, because I'd class this as a bit of a soft launch. And I think we'll get a lot more news coming out of Ignite in a couple of weeks. But we've had, as you can, for those of you who are watching on screen, Kevin's showing the new commercial landing page for Copilot, which has tons of new resources. They've published lots of new Learn content and documentation and things like that. So there's even more resources out there to help you start to get ready for Copilot, to understand the security, privacy and compliance and all of those things. Now, one of the things that we have seen this week, which was probably to be expected, but there's a lot of interesting comments about the some of the requirements to be able to buy Copilot. So what Microsoft have done essentially is made this available to enterprise customers to buy through their EA, and there's a minimum seat requirement for 300 licenses. And this has not gone down well with those who work in smaller organizations or those who buy direct or through CSP.
I think the noisiest people has been the partners, those who want to get hold of it to be able to start preparing for it. And I can completely understand that. Wanting to be able to get ready, understands, start building out your offerings based on not just what you're being told, but your literal experience. So I can certainly see some of the concern, and I think it could have been better suggested. I think there were certainly hints to people as well, but the reality
Yeah,
is large product is taking up a lot of resource, and as we've spoken a lot in the episodes, and we'll carry on speaking about, there's a lot that needs to happen to prepare to adopt it. I think Microsoft wants to make sure that happens properly rather than have people spend a lot of money and be very disappointed. So I think they're getting in place the right way to get that out to people. So I, I believe, I don't have any inside information on this, but I believe it will happen. It will get to all of there, and I think Microsoft have alluded to that. I can understand.
yeah. I think I think one of the other things as well, just to bear in mind, is the perception for those who've paid to be in the early access program, because they have paid to take part in this preview and they get the licenses for a year. And even though it was communicated that you'd get the licenses until GA or a year, whichever, like if GA came in that 12 months, you'd still get them for 12 months. And that minimum requirement was that was for 300 seats. So we've got a general availability date that's coming sooner. Imagine how annoyed all of those people would be if suddenly they let people buy 10 licenses or 50 licenses. So I do think, I don't know how much of an influence that's had, but from working with some of those early access customers, I can imagine how annoyed they'd be if they'd have just waited a couple of months and could buy a smaller number to be able to test with. So there's definitely like a political perception thing as well.
That's also a bit unfair, isn't it? I think it's really unfair. I mean, come on. Like the larger companies, yes, you actually need that edge, but smaller companies do need that edge as well. And we're basically saying that because they're willing to pay for it because of course they can get the value out of it, but they're not as big and therefore they can't get, the necessary help that Copilot will give them is a bit unfair.
It was interesting.
I think
Rupert Squires put a comment on one of my LinkedIn posts earlier today, and he was making the comment that he thought that smaller companies may not get the benefit because they have large companies have more repetitive tasks from there. And then I had to contradict. I can see some of the factor where maybe larger companies almost have more of a quagmire, and having Copilot to help get through that and get to the right information where it is available now. I can see the benefits there, but I think smaller companies can also have those quagmires, and I think there's still the benefits for the content creators to the smaller organizations. So I don't think it's because smaller companies will benefit less as to why they haven't done this yet.
I have a friend who owns a travel company, and I keep telling him he needs to automate. He needs to find a better way of managing his time because he's everywhere. He does everything, right? I literally could see Copilot helping him. There's so many things that he can use Copilot to help him with that would actually reduce his stress levels, his poor stress levels. If you think about people like that, he's basically, I think he employs 10 people. So it's a 10 people company. It's not that big, but he's not using Microsoft, but this will influence him to come onto the Microsoft stack and grow with us. 300 seats, it's kind of preventing him from being able to see the value that Microsoft can bring.
Yeah, I do think it's only for now, though. I think there's lots of things that Microsoft are juggling with this, and one is, they've got these people who've already paid to be in the preview, and they need to be fair to what they sold them as the opportunity. There's the amount of resources that it takes to actually deploy this to an environment and do all of the indexing and things like that. And I almost see this as being like a bit of a gating process, just to slow down that adoption so that the people who are using it have a good experience. And I expect that we'll see some of these requirements change.
Rather than gating, it's not blocking those people, it's the throughput that Microsoft has to process it, which is, I think, what you were saying. But I just know gating and gatekeeping can be confused sometimes. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
it's not. I don't think it's like, you know, these are the rules and this is how it's going to stay. I think it's
yeah,
just
agreed.
they're just trying to manage
But
this experience.
I get it, like in terms of, you've paid for it. But what I'm saying is, like, if it's the payment, some smaller companies will be happy to pay for their access as well, which would
Oh,
help,
completely
right?
agree.
And the thing is, like, I'm obviously, like, for those listening, I am a Black woman and I love makeup. And for the longest time, I couldn't find any foundation color in my shade. Why? Because a lot of the larger makeup companies would actually make foundation for lighter skinned people and basically say, okay, but this is the first pass. Where, like, as soon as that's been adopted and as soon as people like it, we know that they like it, then we'll give it to you. We'll make it for you. And this is kind of just reminding me of that. And it just feels unfair.
Although I
But
do like that idea of a custom Copilot for makeup for all skin tones that can help advise you. Now there's something that should happen with generative AI. I'm going to try and move on
Kevin,
just to make sure on time. One thing I would say is that for those who want to see a bit more Copilot on the Copilot Connection YouTube channel, which you can find from the show notes, we're starting to build some demos out on there, so you can see. We're starting with the M365 Copilot because we want to be able to share out there. So if you have a request for the kind of things to see, it is on Zoe and I and Tricia's tenant. So there's only so much we can do in there. Show me all the top 10 emails from the last week. Unfortunately, it's a little harder to share that, but let us know in the comments. Send us a message on social media if there's something particular you want to see a bit more of or get some verdict on.
I have a question on that. Is it only for Microsoft 365 Copilot or is it for like other Copilots?
No, at the moment it's only for Microsoft 365 because, well, we just like to go with those trends. But I am working on some others as well. So I have a few around Power Platform as well, and we'll certainly be tapping you up to get, and we'll cover this later, some of the Dynamics customer service and other things there as well.
I'll talk to you about my Power App Copilot that I've built. I've extended a well-known Power App that I've presented as a part of a Power Platform love story, and I'm using Copilot to help.
Now we should
feel like
probably
I
have
need
this
to.
conversation offline, but I'm thinking festive tech calendars, Zoe. Ooh.
Yeah.
No, mine is actually about Tinder and dating, but carry
Oh
on.
yeah. But anyway, we'll have that good chat afterwards. Watch this space, listeners.
I
So
definitely want to hear more about that, though, Tricia.
yes, moving
Yeah,
on quickly. We'll come
let's
back to
watch
that
it.
one definitely. Moving on to other news, one of the other areas that, again, you wouldn't think straight away this is linked to Copilot, but Microsoft's announced as part of the Microsoft Learn area, these new Microsoft Applied Skills. So these are new credentials that can help you demonstrate your technical skills. We know Microsoft Learn has had we've got the official certifications. My blind's gone blank. The top MS400s, that kind of thing, that's gone on there. There's ones you can just go through the training on the Microsoft Learn site and share everyone about those, such as the MS 012, the Copilot one, which I know we talked about last week, and I can't remember what it was again. We'll have that in the show notes, but they've taken this beyond to have some of these kind of lab-based situations. And the initial ones as we're showing on here are things like secure storage for Azure files, deploy and configure Azure Monitor, create and manage automated processes by using Power Automate. And there's those online labs that you can use to demonstrate that within there. Two reasons bringing it up today. One, some of those coming are very much around those custom Copilot areas, such as Azure AI, document intelligence, which I'm very much looking forward to. I haven't had a chance to play with that. Looking at Azure AI services, AI vision. So these underlying Azure tools that can help you build out your custom Copilot. The other reason I
And
wanted to
just
talk about,
just on this, like when I looked at this article, I was thinking, oh, these might be actually useful for helping me get up to speed. And then I looked at these and realized how technical they are, and just thought I don't have any time whatsoever to actually get to that level of technical granularity. But for those who are technical and want to start playing and understanding what you can do with AI, I think this is a really, really great starting point.
Yeah, That's a good shout. They're very much focused on that technical skills area across the Microsoft stack. So the other reason I wanted to bring this up, and why in Copilot Connection are we talking about this? Because these can be done online, and they're not in exam center, they're not under exam conditions. One of our community friends, Matt Beard, in fact, the community champion from the Microsoft Community Awards, he messaged me and said, I was just trying these out, and I wondered if I picked one of these that I didn't know much about, and I used Copilot, in this case, I think he was using Bing Chat, could I pass it? And the answer was yes. He got 84% on there. So, well, I think the pass mark's about 60%. So without knowing too much about the subject, he was able to take the questions and within the time there, answer that. Now, I think there's two bits to this. One, are we enjoying the fact that people have this access to that information? This is the way that people's going to be learning. This should be the way that's done there, or is it unfair for those who do it without using that chat? I don't know.
I
What
think
you
it's a
two
really,
think at all?
it's a really interesting point, isn't it? Because one phrase I've heard quite a lot this year is AI won't take your jobs, but people using AI will do. And it raises a question around, if people have got like certificates for some of these online courses, are they actually valid? Do they have the knowledge? And does it even matter? Because if they know how to get the answers, even if they don't necessarily know it off the top of their head, is that a problem? And I don't know what the answer to this is.
It is a problem. I think it is a problem. It's a problem because you're paid for your experience. It's like there's a meme going around about like you have like 100 different people trying to get one ball, where like two people who have tactical knowledge on how to actually play the game can get that ball much quicker than 100 people running for this ball, running all over the place. So it's all about like the actual experience. Now, if you can take the exam that mimics that experience, it is a problem because you're going to
And
basically be employed and then you're not going to be able to actually do the job.
and also, you don't, when you're building solutions, you're building Power Apps, Power Automates, whatever it is, you don't necessarily know the question. It's not a case
Yeah.
of I have this question, I need to answer it. That is where the copilots are fantastic. It's being able to take that challenge that you've got and work out what fits it. And that, exactly as you say, Tricia, that comes from experience. That comes from learning about these things and having them there, maybe deep in your mind. You don't even notice it, to be able to get to the right question, which then you can use Copilot to accelerate getting the answer on there. So
Yeah,
I think Microsoft will need to look at this.
I do think I know in the dress rehearsal, Tricia, you were talking about people knowing how to search effectively, like Google or Bing searches, and I think there's kind of two levels. One is actually having the knowledge and experience and those applied skills that can help you troubleshoot or solution or build or whatever it is they're trying to do. But just as for all of us, I mean, one of the things that helped me in my career was knowing how to get the right answers out of Google, knowing what to search for and how to actually process the information and understand it. Well, Bing wasn't a thing then. I'm going back to fairly early in my career.
We're looking
But
at Ask Jeeves. We're looking at the Ask Jeeves generation.
Yeah, exactly. So I asked Jeeves. I knew what questions to ask, and I think people knowing how to kind of ask AI will be important.
Yeah, prompt like knowing how to prompt is now the new knowing how to Bing or Google or whichever search engine that you use. I agree. And the thing is that if you don't know enough about the topic, then the answer that you're given might not actually fit. And then you might be doing something entirely off-piste, and you don't even know what's best practice. So therefore, it's like you're doing something and building something, making it even more complicated than it actually needs to be. You need to actually learn it. Don't just use AI. AI is a good tool, but it's not supposed to just be used by itself.
And I think that's the important thing to these is, I wouldn't be shouting about these. I wouldn't look at someone who had these on their CV and go fantastic without speaking to them first. However, for individuals to upskill to use these properly, I think are fantastic.
Yeah, 100%.
So let's talk about Dynamics 365 customer service.
Yes,
So I think
let's.
we had a lovely bit of news around this that I think it's gone into general availability. Three features have gone into general availability with the Dynamics 365 customer service. So as we have the expert on the call, Tricia, do you want to talk through this?
Yes, this is actually my favorite. I'm not biased, but it actually is my favorite Copilot of all the Copilots. And look, it actually has sense, and I'll explain why. Obviously, being in contact center, if you're actually working at a contact center, one of the challenges that you have as an agent is a lot of agents struggle with burnout, just like in the tech industry, but they actually suffer a lot quicker than we do, simply because one, repetitiveness. Two, like it's a very high pressure situation. I can't explain how high pressure it is. Having to know all the answers really quickly because you're actually on a time clock. You need to get those KPIs down in terms of your wrap up time and your average handling time. And of course, that means that not a lot of people even want to go into that industry. So therefore, there's a drought of available skilled agents who can work with companies. So companies have these gaps that they're not able to fill because agents aren't available, agents experience burnout, etc. This is where Copilot comes in. So the three features that have gone into Copilot is what we call suggested response, where you're able to, in a similar fashion to what we have with Microsoft 365 Copilot, you're able to ask Copilot a question. Those questions are actually taken, or the response or the information that's provided is actually taken from the knowledge articles that are hosted inside of Dynamics, or you can actually utilize integrated search, which allows you to then bring in SharePoint documents or outside, I know I said it just for you, Kevin, SharePoint documents or documents that are held in a third-party knowledge management system that can be integrated through Office 365 Graph API. That information sometimes is really hard to get as an agent because it's literally all over the place. And as we said, if you don't know how to search, you don't get the right answer. So this really allows you to
search.
And where to search, which is actually, because how many times like the document is in this SharePoint site underneath several different folders and you just don't have access to it. So, well, not access to it, but you just don't know where to actually go. And you're on a call and it's like, oh, I'm sorry, can I put you on hold? So what this does is it brings all that information to the forefront so an agent can really just focus on the customer, right? I always say the tool should not be the star of the show. The conversation between the agent and the customer should be the star of the show. This allows that.
I love that comment there about focus. That's a really important point because you'll see us as we kind of get distracted on things on there. To be able to focus and engage, that's where you get great customer experience, isn't it?
Exactly. Focusing on what the customer is saying to you and knowing, okay, I'm going to help you, because that's the thing. Most agents want to help. They just need the tools to allow that, right? The next thing that has been released is emails. So creating intelligent email responses. Now, what this allows an email to be generated from the previous email. So like an email that has been sent into your contact center, Copilot can review that email, utilize knowledge articles, and craft a response. You have templated response. My favorite templated response is one that actually resolves the email. It will actually respond, and it's been tested, and it actually does do it so well. It actually responds exactly to what the customers are asking. So think about someone who doesn't know it that well, like Matt Baird, and is able to resolve most of these conversations or most of these emails. And this is really important because a lot of right now I was talking to one of our prospects, and they have a backlog in their email. I think 70,000 emails not been responded to. That's a lot. That's a lot of emails that they haven't been able to reach, which basically means that people are calling in because people haven't responded to their emails.
That just adds pressure. Yeah, that just adds pressure to
if you're listening, that is a lot of emails to have unread. I'm watching you.
I'm not going to show you how many I've got in my Gmail inbox then, Kevin.
I don't even read my email sometimes, so I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
I will tell you it's 6 figures and it starts with a 1 though.
Yeah.
Least it's
Now,
the one.
the other thing as well that's been released is being able to summarize case and conversations, cases and conversations. Now, from a case point of view, if you're dealing with, for example, a claim, and that claim might be long running, and you're an agent that just took this, how much time do you have to take that customer, put them on hold, just to read through everything that's happened? That takes time. As I mentioned at the start of the call, time is not something that agents have because they're actually targeted on how quickly they can get you off the phone. So this is basically getting them up to speed really quickly in order for them to understand and then deal with your query, in a faster manner. And then conversations, if they actually need to engage with, like another colleague, or quickly do their call wrap up, this allows the conversation that you've had with the customer to be automatically summarized. That summary can now be the call notes, right? How many times have we actually called back into a contact center only to find they didn't leave adequate notes? That's so frustrating. And anyhow, so this
And I
helps
think
resolve
it's
that.
that quality, isn't it? So it's not just about the efficiency and speed, but
It's
it's
the
that customer
yeah,
experience. Exactly as you say, if you're starting to speak to someone, you have to repeat the same thing that you've already told them or someone else. You just lose the will to live. So
exactly. So
if you
what
can
this
answer that,
is, it allows it's like someone actually listening in to basically take notes on your behalf.
mm,
So you as the agent, you don't need to remember everything that happened in the call. Copilot will do that for you. You again just focus on the conversation, focus on the customer, and get the customer what they need. The tool will work behind the scenes to get everything together, right? And then last but not least, definitely not least, is how effective is Copilot in your organization? Is Copilot helping you to be more efficient? So they've actually created some reports that allow you to see, okay, what would the average time be to resolve a case without Copilot? What's the average time with Copilot, etc. Other things like that.
Brilliant. So that just it sounds incredible when you think about the impact that this will have for both for the agents who work in these contact centers, but for the customers as well.
Absolutely.
yeah.
But we've actually started talking to customers, and some customers are already implementing this. They're super excited because they've done some POCs and have already seen massive uptakes in how their agents are engaging with this. And they're very happy. They're very excited, and I'm excited for them.
And how are you seeing, because you've worked in other areas of Dynamics and Power Platform, how are you seeing Copilot make a difference there as well, Tricia?
Well, to be honest, I'm more structured on the customer service Copilot. After customer service Copilot, then the next one that I've been looking at is the Power Virtual Agent Copilot. With the Power Virtual Agent Copilot, it's okay.
And we like to be honest on this show.
It's okay. I just think that it's not fully baked yet. But it's fine. I mean, it's not GA. They're landing. They're getting their feet. That one is more about like being able to respond in a natural way, so it doesn't actually create deflection. And yeah, it's fine. We'll continue assessing it as it goes. The next one, but actually I do actually like, is the Power App Copilot. It's actually more the Copilot connector that I've actually used. So a lot of the times what I do is like I will just create apps. Like that's not my role, but I like to learn, and this is how I learn. I will think of something and I will create something for it. So what I've created is I've created I shouldn't say this, but a tool that kind of allows me to regenerate responses for RFP documents based on my own text. So it's nothing to do with,
Ooh.
but it's just like, this is my
Oh,
knowledge.
we
I put my
definitely
knowledge
need
in
to
it. And
speak more about that.
I know, it's just because like one of the things I have to do is I have to contribute a lot to RFPs, right? I'm not the world's best writer. I'm not. So I've been trying to see, okay, how can I help my own self get better? And that's what I've been doing. And then the last thing, but definitely not least, is M365. So I'm a part of this M365 Copilot thing that we have at Avanade, because we have over 300 licenses, clearly. So bad, sorry. But thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this trial. I like it. And I actually thought that the PowerPoint Copilot would be like my absolute favorite, but it's not. It turns out that it's a cross between two, which is email, because as I said, I struggle with writing. I always want to make sure that I'm understood, and the nuances of how I speak as a Jamaican doesn't really fit the nuances of like the European speaker. So like me, it took a while, but now I can basically put what I need into Copilot and it will translate it into like a direct or a casual, so I can address it better for my audience, right? And I get, it's quicker and I get better responses. So that has actually been my saving. And then the other one is
just very quickly on that, what I love about that is that that ability for you to be you and not have to change yourself,
no,
but
I didn't have to
still
change
get it.
myself.
Okay. But I mean, you can put it in the language that feels natural to you, and then have Copilot put it into where you think it should be without having to kind of fully change yourself completely. So you can still keep your personality as you without having to have that almost split personality that it was something I found early in my career. I was trying very much to have that split personality. There was me in the office versus me at the home, and I struggled with that. I felt better where I can bring more of me into there, but there's times it's not right. You don't want to be like that, and I love Copilot for helping with that.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think
so
it's because
there's been some really interesting chatter about Copilot in Teams chats. And you know, like I think from an email perspective, if you know, imagine you're having a bad day and you want to write something that's really ranty, being able to use Copilot to make it sound I don't know, less aggressive, less angry, that's really valid. But I know that we've seen a few people grumbling a little bit about actually using Copilot to help write Teams messages, because by their very nature it's meant to be a more informal way of communicating, isn't it? But I still think that for people where I think if English isn't your second language, or if you're neurodivergent, you know, and there's probably other scenarios as well, I actually think that there will be groups that will find it beneficial, even if I personally won't.
Yeah, and I think there's people who get very upset about messages that are very informal and haven't been thought through, and people don't have that kind of patience for it. So I think it shouldn't necessarily.
I just want to reiterate though that for me, and this is where the searching came in. Like when I explained, people don't know how to search and they had to learn. I had to learn how to actually do a proper prompt, and that's what I meant about changing myself, because I think this is not changing myself, it's more learning how to work with this new tool. And I think a lot of people will have to do that to get the best out of it, because you can do stuff, but you get the best out of it once you actually learn how to properly apply those prompts or tell it what to do. So that's where I found real value out of it.
Yeah, I'd completely agree with that, Tricia. And I think what one of the things that people need to understand as well is that the way that you prompt Copilot is very contextual. So the type of prompts that you'd put in Excel is very different to the one that you'd use in Copilot Chat or in PowerPoint or OneNote. And they'll be different to the prompts that you'd use in Power Apps or in Dynamics. So there's almost two layers to it, isn't there? Because there's kind of knowing how to structure a prompt to get the best results that you're looking for, and there's knowing how to do that in the context of the specific app that you're in and the thing that you're trying to do in that app. Okay, Tricia, so one of the reasons that Kevin and I really wanted to get you to come on to the Copilot Connection was to talk to us about sustainability, because it's a question I get asked a lot. You know, what is the sustainability impact of generative AI? What is the sustainability impact of Copilot? I don't think we've got very clear answers coming out of organizations like Microsoft and the other big tech vendors on this yet, but I know that you do have a view on this.
I do. So I actually wrote a blog recently where I researched quite heavily the sustainability impact. And at the start of writing the blog, I was very anxious because I was like, oh my gosh, this is not good. The reason is the findings of how much carbon emissions are being caused by just making one search is comparable to lighting 10,000 houses, apparently, like full on lighting 10,000 houses, which is a lot, right? And in a world where we're trying to basically reduce carbon emissions, to have a greener earth, to actually have like to reduce, you know, climate change, etc., it's kind of going against all of that. So my concern was, is our drive and eagerness for new technology and innovation and making things faster impacting our future? But then when I did further research into it, I uncovered that although we're actually burning a lot of carbon emissions, that Microsoft have, and to be honest, it's not just Microsoft, Google have also done this as well. But they have actually put things in place because, of course, Microsoft has a plan to become not carbon neutral, but carbon negative by, I can't remember which year, but not much long to go with it.
Was it 2030?
2030, so
Yeah, I
that's
was
7
thinking
Was
years.
it?
2030. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
not much farther. And because of that, what they're doing is they're working on how do you say, carbon all renewable energy data centers that are not emitting. And the first one of this is actually in Ireland, funny enough. So more and more they're doing this and they're offsetting. When I say offsetting, I don't mean that they're removing it. I actually mean that they're already investing and innovating how that this can be done. And that's actually happening as we actually speak and as we go through. The thing though is that that's what Microsoft are doing, and not Microsoft are not the only players in the game of Gen AI. I know
What?
Google are doing this as well. I know. Funny that, Kevin. Funny that. Imagine. What? But
Outrageous.
outrageous, right? But they're not the only players.
That is true.
So when we think of other people who are doing this as well, are they also applying the same checks to their like the models? Because it's not just using, it's the training and it's the usage that's actually causing this. It's also the development as well that's that we have to factor in.
Absolutely.
So it's like we have one side of technology that's really conscious of what they're doing, and my worry, because I haven't researched this side as yet, well, I did, but I couldn't find any information otherwise. It's the other models that are actually being built and how are they actually ensuring that they're sustainable as well. That's now my concern. That's something that I think we as developers and we as users need to also be aware of, that whatever model that we're using, what we're interacting with, to make sure that there actually is sustainability at the heart of that, so we're not contributing to the worse off of a future society.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple of important points there. One is sustainable development principles, and the second, which I think is really important, is we know that AI and generative AI in particular uses more resources, and everybody is on this gold rush, this like mad. This mad craze to apply Gen AI to everything, but not everything needs a Gen AI solution. Not everything even needs an AI solution. When I've been looking at some of the case studies for Gen AI, a lot of the things that people are asking for is possible just with basic tools that they already have in their enterprise.
100%.
So I think, understanding, understanding how to use the stuff you've already got and what the right tool and option is for a specific thing is super important.
But a lot of companies are actually being charged, like literally from the top, because like their leadership have seen Gen AI and they're like, they're using Gen AI, we should. And then they've tasked their teams with going out and identifying
And
generative
want to
AI
be
use
seen.
cases
They want to
and
be
want to be
seen using it, don't
seen
they?
as
Yeah.
doing that. And they must be. So now everything, even if it's not, everything is now Gen AI, literally. And you're like, this is literally traditional AI. This has nothing to do with Gen AI. But okay, sure. Let's
Yeah,
have the and the thing is, I talk to people, I'm like, listen, you just need automation. That's actually what it's cheaper for you, it's better for you, it'll go faster, you'll deploy it faster. Gen AI has so much other considerations that we have to take into consideration, not even just from a sustainability standpoint, but from a security standpoint.
Mm.
And a responsible AI standpoint as well.
Yeah.
I had someone say to me yesterday that people, I can't remember who it was, but someone had been saying to him that SharePoint syntax was Gen AI, and it's not. It's machine learning. It's like, it's got some form of like machine learning, machine teaching. Yeah, it's got some form of AI, and therefore we're just going to stick this big rubber Gen AI stamp all over it.
Literally everything is now Gen AI, even if it's not. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, it's actually not.
It used to be Viva, now it's Gen AI. It's the way these things go around. One thing I wanted to say, and I'll try and get this into the show notes, that I also like that Microsoft's looking I think it's the Phi model, PHI, which is a lower power LLM. So it's got slightly less capabilities, but it's catching up very quickly because of the way they're doing it. And it requires far less power to train that model and can run quicker as well. So I like that Microsoft and others. I think there's the Llama model from Meta, which can be run on Microsoft's kit as well. There's different ways of looking and approaching this, and I love what they're doing with that as well.
Yeah. For my last thing though, is not because you can means you should. That's it. That's all I want to say. Not because you can means you should. I'll leave it there.
I just wanted to clarify a couple of things. So Microsoft, they've said by 2030 they'll be carbon negative, but even more so, they've said by 2050 they'll remove from the environment all the carbon that the company has emitted since they were founded in 1975, which I think is great. I'm a little unsure about this kind of carbon offset, which I think it's generally building forests and things like that. So I'd like to see more of it by reducing the amount of carbon they're creating. So I love what you're saying about the new data.
I think they're doing that as well, though.
It's nice as a combination. Yeah, they have several strategies. That is one of them. And I think, to be honest, it's good because we've taken so much out of the earth. If you look at the amount of forests that we used to have, and the amount of forest has been reduced. This is putting it back in because it is important to have that to absorb, as you can tell, like a lot of the CO2, a lot of the carbon that we have in there. So like I've never learned, like obviously I learned this at school, but I never realized how important it was until recently when I started to investigate all of this, the whole climate change thing. And I'm like, okay, fine, this is important. Microsoft are actually on a page here. Other companies are actually on the right track as well. I think that though we as developers, and I really want to stress this, we also have a handle in this because we're the ones actually building the technology. Right? We can actually say no, and we can advise on what is the best route. And should be something that we factor in as best practice.
Absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree. I think we've got a really important role to play in that education and awareness. So this has been an absolutely great discussion. Thanks so much for joining us, Tricia. You are the first guest that we've had on one of our Copilot Connection podcasts. So thank you. We've got more big things planned for future episodes. We'll be back soon to talk about some of the announcements that are coming out of Ignite. I'm hoping to actually pin down some people and get some interviews from Ignite as well. If anyone listening or watching would like to join us, if you're doing things with Copilot, whether you're hands-on planning, starting to think about it, if you'd like to come and talk to us, let us know and we'll get you on a future show.
Absolutely. And if you want to hear more from us, please do subscribe, follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, /X, subscribe to us on the podcast channels, and also check out our YouTube channel. We're putting more and more other videos with their shorts and some of the longer form demos of the different Copilots. So keep an eye out. If you subscribe, you'll be the first to hear from that as well. Tell your clients, tell your colleagues, tell other people in the community, tell your family as well, because everyone needs to know about AI. It's the hot topic and we want to be there. In fact, and I meant to mention this earlier, Rishi Sunak on the news was talking about how AI can be your co-pilot. So tell Rishi Sunak and he'll be out there listening to this as well.
Yeah, everyone's getting in on the Copilot craze.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Tricia,
Been an
and
absolute pleasure.
thanks everyone
Bye.
else. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.